Hello, my lovely soul, and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence. I am your host, Lauren Glick. I am here to bring you my energy, my motivational speaking, and me being a confidence mentor. My mission is to inspire women to own who they are, step into their higher selves fearlessly, and live a life with unstoppable joy. On this show, we are going to cover everything from aligning your life to your higher self, setting boundaries, self-growth, and living a purpose-driven life. Let's get you living a meaningful life you cannot wait to wake up to. Stop driving and start living with ease and abundance. Cheers to living a magical life. And I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Now, let's head into today's episode. Hello, my lovely. Today I was super excited. Well, I guess I still am really excited for you to listen in to Vince and all of his knowledge and all of his background. I think it's really important when you're looking for a mentor that you're looking for somebody that has a lot of knowledge. There is I don't want to say imposters out there because we always hear the saying, be who you want to become now, like not saying pretend, but like just go out there and do your thing. But at the same time, do the coaches that you're investing in have knowledge within their subject? And definitely Vince today schooled me. And I always love when that happens. And this is why I love Unstoppable Confidence podcast, because the guests are so rad. So please stay tuned. Vince is a rad one, and I cannot wait for you to get the insight from him on mindset and where all his knowledge comes from and the people that we get to be following as well for all of the knowledge. So on that, love, let's get into the episode. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence. I am super stoked to have Vince on Unstoppable Confidence today. He is a mindset coach, and he's actually, not retired fire. You left the fire department. So we have a couple things in common, and I'm stoked about that connection. So thank you for being here today, Vince. Would love to have you introduce yourself pretty briefly.
Sure. So thanks for having me. My name is Vin, and I am a master mindset coach. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I do a bit of mentoring. I work in multiple businesses. I do some investing, and all around, I'm just a punk kid trying to make a difference.
Yeah, that's funny. And then when you said that, I just immediately went to, oh God, why am I forgetting his name? Gary Vaynerchuk. Cause I don't want to call him a punk kid, but like he's all over the place with business. Obviously, he's like super successful. But it's interesting that you said that, because the most successful entrepreneurs are those people that don't have schooling, that kind of just do their own thing. So I'm stoked to talk today about mindset, especially with, I don't want to go directly to Will Smith and everything that happened a couple of days ago. So I'm going to have to air this episode sooner than later, Vince. But I think mindset is extremely important as an entrepreneur. And I know that when I left my fire department, it was a huge identity loss for me and a huge thing that I had to get over my mindset and get over that struggle I was having internally. How was that transition for you from fire to being a entrepreneur? Or did you start that when you were a firefighter? What's that transition for you?
So it was a pretty interesting transition. It was actually a transition over the course of a few years.
Yeah.
So right now I'm 30. I'm going to be 31 in July. And I was a licensed psychotherapist. I still technically am, but at the time I was working in a private practice.
Yeah.
And I had a caseload of like 40 people. And it was really, really hard to even make that decision to leave to go to the fire department.
Yeah.
Both of these jobs were my two childhood dreams. So I was already living one of them, and I was about to apparently live the second one.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to miss the opportunity. It was one of those like, do it and don't regret it, right? Because I could always go back to therapy. I could always be a therapist. Like, I have my license, I have my master's. No one could take that. Fire department in New York, though, there's an age cutoff. So at 29, there is. At 29,
isn't that age discrimination?
I don't know. That's for whoever.
That's another episode. Okay, keep going.
But so at 29, if you're not registered and taking the exam, wow, you no longer have the opportunity to become a firefighter. So now they give the FDNY exam every 4 years, and there's over 80,000 applicants every 4 years. You need to be in the top 5,000 typically to get called and become a firefighter. So I took the test the first time. I got a very low score. I didn't get in, and I didn't even get the opportunity to like go for my next steps. I was like number 10,000 something. So I wasn't going to get called. The second time I took it, I wound up getting 103, which made me 1217 on the list. I was going to be in the second class.
Wow.
And so I said to myself, I was like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I will never be able to do this again. Let me just do it. And so that was an extremely hard transition just because of the emotional aspect of like cutting off 40 people.
Yeah.
But I also always had this dream to build my own practice. And so I had started seeing like, I love therapy, but therapy wasn't really it for me. It wasn't helping clients the way I wanted it to. And I felt like something was missing. And then I stumbled upon life coaching, and more appropriately, I stumbled upon Tony Robbins, the greatest coach
I love
is.
that. Yeah.
And so I kind of fell in love with what he was doing. I was like, oh, this guy's not some, are we allowed to curse on here?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That guy's not some fucking bullshit life coach with a $10 cert. He actually is a master psychologist. Like, I realized that because he talked about concepts I learned in school. Like, he was talking about Skinner and Maslow, and he, without saying it, but I realized this, right? Because I'd been trained in it. So
that's awesome.
I fell in love with his stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. So I went and got my RMT coaching certification under Tony Robbins training program. And as I was going for the fire department, and we were in the academy. The academy's 5 months long. And, some days you're up at 3 a.m., some days you're up at 4 a.m. And then you get home at like sometimes 4 p.m., sometimes 5 if the DIs were angry at us, sometimes 7. And so it's it's run like a military organization. So you're there for, I don't know, 10 to 13 hours some days. And so I would do that Monday to Friday. And then on the weekends, I would build my coaching practice. I signed up with this company called Bark. And Bark was pretty cool because they allowed you to purchase credits and then basically pay for contact information. So people would sign up for life coaching. Yeah. And then I would pay for their lead, right? Wow. And I would just cold call. And so I would just cold call people, but they were like looking for coaches, right? So it wasn't just like random calls, but they didn't know they were getting me. So I would just do that nonstop on the weekends. And I was going through the academy 5 days, like 70-hour weeks, building the practice on Saturday and Sunday. Not going to lie, it was really hard. I didn't do spectacular in the academy. Passing's like overall 75. I think I got an 83. I wasn't a phenomenal firefighter because I was building a business and doing this and entering into a new relationship, and I just moved out of my house. Like, there is so much
going on, it sounds like.
So I mean, even getting through the fire academy, it's hard. I wanted to quit multiple times, but I did it. I made it. And then we actually wound up graduating about a month early because we got what was known as a wartime graduation because it was the height of COVID. It just came out and nobody knew what was going on. There were tons of people that were on medical leave for COVID. And so they're like, hey, guess what? We're short guys in the field. Good luck. It was like, okay.
Oh my God.
They were like, we went in on Friday, right? This is Friday. We still had a month in the academy. And the guy was like, well, the drill instructor, the head DI came out and he was like, don't expect to leave. This is still the full academy unless you hear otherwise. I'll see you Monday. We come in Monday. He's like, you're leaving tomorrow. You all get your assignments. Good luck.
What? How gnarly.
So they sent us out, and then we had a specific schedule because of COVID. They wanted to keep everyone separate, right? So we were only working 24s, and then we would have 2-3 days off. So it allowed me, due to that structure, to start building my coaching practice even more. And I started finding I was really, really passionate about coaching. Like, coaching set a fire in me that nothing else could. Even the fire department, as amazing as it was, I saw myself more drawn to the coaching aspect. And I knew that because both jobs demand so much of you, I wasn't really giving 100% to either side. I knew I couldn't. And there was also this one other part where I'm sure you probably heard the saying, if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't heard that.
You've never heard that?
No.
So this is a very interesting quote, actually. This is a real story. A lot of people use it nowadays in motivational speeches. They'll be like, if you want the island, you have to burn the boats. You have to get rid of your only chance to turn back so you could only go forward. But there's a very interesting, I was like, where did this quote even come from? And so I looked it up, and it's a real thing. There was this Spanish commander. His name was Hernan Cortez. Hernan Cortez was tasked to take this island. I can't remember where it was. And, you know, it seemed like the odds were pretty stacked against him. And so what he did was he ordered one of his men to burn the boats, his entire fleet's ships, all of them. And after this, he said, men, look there, all of your boats are burning. If you want to live, your only option is to take the island. And it was a crazy freaking story. But what that really taught us is that humans, when put in live or die situations, will more times than not dig deep and find the courage to survive. And so now it's become a motivational quote where people say this, especially Tony Robbins. And there was this thing burning in my head when I was trying to decide, what should I do in the fire department? Should I stay? Should I go? What do I do? I think I could be successful at this. I had 10 years of training in mental health before this time. You know, I love what I do. And the question is, do I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, to go on my own and just do it? And so I had that quote burning in my head. I was like, oh, you got to burn the boats. You got to burn the boats. And I'm sitting there and I said, you know, the real difference that I could distinct here is this. If me knowing that I could become a successful coach and me thinking I could become a successful coach, the difference in there is staying or leaving the fire department. Knowing meant I had to leave. Thinking meant I should stay because I didn't believe in myself. And so for me, that was my final factor. Like, if I'm really going to do this, if I'm really going to build this business and I believe I could do it, I got to burn my boat. Because as long as I get a steady paycheck, as long as I could work overtime if I need more cash, as long as I don't have to work as hard as I could in my business, because who cares? I'm always going to get paid. I wasn't going to work hard. And I knew that. And I saw myself lagging. So I made that very hard decision. I was like, you know, this was a childhood dream. I lived it, but now it's like, I got to go after what I realized really sets my soul on fire. And so I quit. I wasn't making a ton of money at the time, but then I joined networking groups with all the free time I had. I joined networking groups. I started doing more cold calling. I started asking for referrals. I started, you know, pushing myself out there. I started just, you know, getting more on Instagram and just doing everything. And then all of a sudden, everything just aligned.
Wow.
And the year I quit the fire department was the best year of my life.
Wow. I mean, it's interesting because you had first talked about like, yeah, if I do this, I could always go back, you know, and then you had the quote of burning the boats. And that makes so much sense, especially with really digging deep and understanding that if you put yourself in this situation and you know you can do it, you must go out there and you must do it. That's Tony Robbins is like, you must do this. Like, it's not an option. That was a really inspiring story because there are so many entrepreneurs out there that are part-time and then they have their full-time job because they don't think they could be 100% successful as being a full-time entrepreneur. So thank you for that story. I know it wasn't an easy decision for me to leave as well. It actually wasn't really a decision, but it was a very hard transition for me. So thank you for that story. And I really loved all the aspects that you were talking about of the mindset, because I truly do believe that mindset is a huge aspect in business, because we can't grow in business if we don't grow as a human.
Mm.
We put so many limiting beliefs on what we can do, and we stay inside of our comfort zone a lot. And I think if us as humans, if we have those beliefs upon us, then our businesses can't grow as entrepreneurs. So if I was to ask you about, because everything with the Oscars, I know we kind of just briefly talked about that at the beginning. What are your thoughts on the whole Will Smith debacle? I really want to ask you about that, Ben.
I mean, it's very funny. I wrote an article the other day. I'm prefacing this. I will answer the question. But
Yeah.
I wrote an article the other day. I submitted it to be published. I have no idea where. But it talked about the social media. It talked about media consumption. I'm not a believer in it. I don't follow like any of it. I don't really care about it. I don't know what the heck's going on in most regards of this world. I know the bigger stuff, but I don't focus on it.
I don't either. But this one was pretty big. And I was like, what happened? Because I didn't even watch the Oscars. But go ahead, keep going.
Of course. No, but I mean, and even that, right? So like I see it everywhere. I see it, I log into Facebook, and mind you, I try to use social media as consciously as possible, where I'll log in mostly just kind of create some content and then get off, because I don't want to be sitting on there and wasting my time. Yeah. But everywhere I logged in, there's a meme. And some of the memes were hilarious.
They were.
There's a meme, there's a conversation, there's a, is it fake? Is it not? There's a this, there's a that. And I can't really wrap my head around why people are so interested in this. I really can't. I don't know what the desire of watching two grown men create spectacles of themselves is. Why is that such an attention getter? And quite frankly, I think it's interesting because things always tend to line up, right? Like, oh wow, the Oscars, people aren't watching anymore. Nobody talks about it. In fact, nobody even cares about it. Oh, guess what? Now nobody could stop talking about it. Am I going to say it was staged? I don't know. I don't honestly know, nor do I care that much. But the reality is, like, it's interesting how the Oscars have been tanking for years. Nobody cares about it. And then this happened.
Interesting. I didn't even think about it like that. Because I didn't watch the Oscars either. I don't really care about the Oscars. Yeah. And then I heard Will Smith smacked a dude on stage, Chris Rock. And I'm like, what? Like, why would he just go smack an innocent person? And I think that is, I guess, more of, and I like your attitude of like, who really cares? Was it staged? I didn't even think it was an option to be staged, honestly. I'm like, why would it be staged? Like, but that in itself is a mindset as well of like, I have more to worry about than who is smacking who on an Oscar stage.
Hey, there's so much research and coverage on this. Like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to discourage anybody. I know entrepreneurship and like hustle isn't for everyone. And a lot of people really do enjoy having a 9 to 5 and being able to like go home and chill with their family or play video games or call their friends. And like, that's awesome. But that's a lot of where people that don't have tons of things going on, like they focus on other stuff because their time isn't really taken up. Like I have a newborn kid. I have my business. I'm buying a business. I'm invested in 3 businesses.
Wow.
I mean, like, when am I going to sit there and freaking watch Will Smith slap people? Like, it's not like, I'd rather figure out how to make more money so that, as my kid is growing, I could support her and do these cool things for her, as opposed to like, oh, what really happened? Why did he slap? Now look at that angle. Was it staged? Was it real?
How
Where's
funny.
the emotion in there? Right. And so it's like, why do we get wrapped up in these things? What does it do for us that we're so focused? Like how much time do we have in our day that we could sit there and research why Will's slapping Chris Rock? Did they make up after? Who talked to Will afterwards? Like, because then there's the follow-up stories, right? So now what happened? Oh, Will Smith's being investigated. Oh, Denzel Washington put his hand on his shoulder. So many people supported it. Like the string of freaking the rabbit hole you're gonna go down because of this one thing is like obscene.
I love it. That's so interesting. I never even thought about that. Because at night, I definitely take time to unwind because there is so much going on behind the scenes here as well. Like that have nothing to do with my mind, my confidence coaching online. So that's so interesting because at night I usually watch Netflix to unwind before I go to sleep. Because A, I do not have a kiddo, and B, I do not have a relationship. So I really love to spend the night to unwind. And when because my parents were watching the Oscars and my mom was like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And I was like, "What?" And then I started doing research on it online. And I love your outlook on it of like, why do you even care? Because that used to be my outlook, but I guess being on Instagram and doing a lot of interaction with potential leads and clients, totally got wrapped up in it. So thank you for that reminder. I absolutely love that insight. And because I am for sure that person is like, who really cares? But I think this one was such a bigger scale for me, I guess. But anyways, I like your outlook, Vin.
No worries.
And you were talking about, to go on to the next topic of conversation, you have brought up Tony Robbins a lot. And I really did like when you mentioned because you are a licensed psychotherapist as well. That's the correct term, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Psychotherapist. And you mentioned two names because I actually worked for Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosi for their KBB program.
Wow.
So I lived out in Scottsdale right before COVID. And then I came home and long story short, got laid off because of the cuts of all the coaches in that program. But I think everything happens for a reason. I started my own coaching business, But when you were talking about Tony Robbins, which I didn't even know, is those two names. Hopefully you remember those names, Ben, of like the people that Tony was implementing through, but never mentioned their names. Who are those people?
So when you look at Tony's model of the 6 human needs, right? Like though he created those, and I mean, nobody has to take my word for it, but I'll verify it because I know the real model of the 6 human needs, which is Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. He doesn't actually have 6 human needs though. In Maslow's hierarchy, there's like 12. What I saw that Tony did, which I thought was amazing, is that he took something that's complex that only therapists study, and he made it palatable for millions of people to understand, right? And that is the power of being 1, a master brander, 2, a master communicator, and 3, a pioneer. Because all of a sudden he got millions of people interested in boring psychology, right?
Yeah.
He also knows a lot. Skinner. So I'm classically trained as a behavioral therapist. I'm specialized in CBT, DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, and positive psychology, which was created by Martin Selig. He specializes in all of these. Tony is really like a master freaking psychologist. When he's up there and he's conditioning people, he's using behaviorism. He's getting people to feel it in their body. Now, Skinner would also do these things with behavior by just reconditioning and reprogramming people. Like if he wanted you to do something, he would pay attention to the behavior that he wants you to do more of and not acknowledge the behavior he wants you to do less of, because people are conditioned to want attention. That's why they always say, right? There's no such thing as bad press. Good news or bad news, it's all good news.
It's all news.
It's all news, right? And so if you see that you're going to get, and we could even see this when we raise kids or anything like that. If you see you're getting attention for a bad behavior, and mind you, remember, if you really follow his stuff, there's no such thing as a bad behavior. All behaviors are just a way to meet a need. Humans inherently want attention. We want connection. We want communication. If you're doing something bad and that's the only time you're getting communication and connection, you're going to keep doing that. If you're doing something good and you're doing it and you're getting communication and connection, you're going to keep doing that. He knows this. He works with people and he does a lot of this. And then even positive psychology pulls on people's ability to use resilience and grit to overcome obstacles and see power in adversity. He does that. He changes perspective to take your pain and turn it into your power. And he takes it so that he flips how you're seeing these things.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's why I fell in love with Tony Robbins, because as a therapist, there's always been a debate. Therapists have been sitting there for probably like, I don't know, when coaching came out, I think like 1900s, right? Somewhere around there, maybe 1920 or early, whatever. So it's been almost 100 years, and therapists are still like, life coaches are bullshit. And for the most part, they really are, because you could go online, you could get a life coaching certification for $20 and not know a damn thing.
Yeah.
But if you're a real life coach like Tony Robbins, you are also really good at psychology. And so there is still a difference. I myself have learned the biggest difference is, like, therapists, when we're trained to meet the client where they're at. One of the things that I learned how to kind of describe this is, like, the therapist's job is to get you to the line, right? Meet you where you're at, and then bring you up to where you need to be. And then when we were looking at what does a coach do, a coach is the person that takes you over the line, because a coach is someone who challenges you to raise your standards.
Yeah.
And so I think, for instance, with Tony, people don't really realize he's both. He never formally got trained. He never got his degree. He never got his license, but he doesn't need it. He's better than 99.99% of the therapists out there anyway.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. When you were talking at the beginning of that conversation, Vin, of what did you say they were? The 6 human needs what was that?
The 6 human needs?
Yeah. What are they?
Tony's model?
Yeah.
So Tony's model is, he does the 6 human needs. Is the first one is certainty. The second one is uncertainty/variety. The third one is significance. The fourth is love and connection. The fifth is growth, and the sixth is contribution. Mind you, I got trained under Tony, so I am technically a strategic intervention coach. I do a lot of his stuff with my clients.
No, I absolutely love that. That was super powerful. And because you mentioned somebody else other than Skinner, who was that, and what is that training have to do with Tony Robbins as well?
Martin Selig.
I think that was the name.
So Martin Selig is the creator of positive psychology.
Okay.
Positive psychology is the focus on resilience, grit, and being able to take people's adversity and see how it shapes them to grow and become more empowered, and actually find the positive impact that adversity has had on him. Now, I mean, there's plenty more people out there. Like, you have Jung, who focuses on the ego, the id, you have Freud, who focuses on all of that stuff as well. Yeah. And from my understanding, when Tony talks about his own story, he would, he said he read somewhere along the lines of like 700 books about human psychology, behavior, all of these things. And so, I mean, it's definitely, to me, it's apparent he read from all the founding fathers of psychology, and he really, really learned his stuff, which is also a testament.
What are the founding fathers of psychology? Like, what are the 3 main people that, if you're really interested in psychology and Tony Robbins, like, what you're like, is there more than 3?
They're found. When I say founding fathers, I mean it in the sense of, like, these people have created modalities, right? So you have Gottman. Gottman is an amazing psychologist. He found that he could predict the ability for a couple to stay together based on like one interaction or one session with like a 97% accuracy rating based on what he's found through studying couples, right? And so you have like the Gottman Institute if you want to become really good at psychotherapy for couples. Like I said, you have Maslow, who's got the hierarchy of human needs. You have Freud, who is the founder of psychology, period. You have Skinner, who's behavioral. You have Ericksonian. Like, you can go on and look at all of these different modalities and learn so many different ways to connect with people. And that's really what it is. If you want to be good at this job, if you want to be a good coach or a good therapist, you have to be able to connect with people with multiple tools and multiple ways, because everybody's the same, but they're all different in the regards that, like, if you're struggling with anxiety, the root is always the same. Like, it's not special. there's really just a few things that everybody suffers from, but it's always packaged differently, right? It's like if you have 100 people, all their gifts are just wrapped with different freaking paper, but there's the same thing in every damn box. Like, it's not really that unique.
Well, you for sure have really given the listeners the reasons why it's really important to do research on coaches.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking so many questions, because you have so much knowledge behind you, and there's so many coaches online that just go on there and they just start coaching. Like if it's a business coach, if it's a mindset coach, whatever kind of coach it is, you could just go online and just, fly by the seat of your pants, to say the least.
Yeah.
And you have so much knowledge behind you, and that is very reassuring when somebody is going in to finding a mindset coach or a coach within business growth, what have you. So that was pretty rad with all that knowledge you have behind you. So thank you for all that, Vince. So I'm assuming, and you know what they say about assuming, I should not do that, but I'm assuming that Tony Robbins is one of your mentors that you follow within mindset coaching. Is there another kind of mentor that you follow other than Tony Robbins for your own personal growth?
I have a personal mentor who I speak with sporadically, but not really. Like, we'll do check-in about every 2 weeks or so. He's actually somebody who's really amazing. He just kind of started mentoring me. Initially my friend made the introduction and we just got to talking, and the guy, I guess for lack of better words, the guy just liked me and he just wanted to kind of help me out. And so we talk pretty often. He's a, I don't even know how to describe him. He's he builds businesses. He builds companies from the ground up. He has over 800, or sorry, not 800, over 80 and an extra zero. He's got over 80 inventions in the US.
Wow.
He's spoke at the White House. Like he's got one hell of a background, and I don't even know. I still don't know why he wants to work with me, but he sees something in me, and I appreciate that. I think my dad was a little bit of a mentor as well. My dad's a licensed psychotherapist. I followed in his footsteps since I was a kid. I always said I wanted to be a therapist because of him. And he actually gave me two of the biggest pieces of advice that changed how I worked in my life, where when I was going through grad school and all this stuff, he said to me, if you ever want to be a good therapist, you need to, one, put yourself in the hardest situations and work with the most difficult people society has to offer. And two, you need to go for therapy yourself, because any therapist that is worth their degree has at least a basic understanding of themselves.
Wow.
And I took that and understood it a step further. And I realized, through my own studies, and I keep growing, I invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into my own education, mentors, coaches, etc., seminars, events. And I learned one thing is to know yourself is to know others. And so my journey of growth has been a very long one. I've been working on it for probably longer than a decade, right? And when I started really doing therapy, I started in inpatient units. I worked in homeless shelters. I've been in hospitals, clinics, fire department. I was in Department of Education, private practice. Like I've been everywhere. And, I've worked with clients who have literally, for lack of better words, murdered someone. And I've worked with schizophrenics, and I've worked with people suffering from domestic violence and PTSD. You name it, I've done it. And so now when I work with everyday people, that's what I like to call them. When I work with everyday people and they're like, oh, you're going to be shocked at what I'm going to tell you. I'm like,
probably not.
Like, probably not. I'm like, there's nothing you could say to shock me. I'm pretty desensitized, which is also actually something that clients have commented on, but like in a good way. Like they're like, it's so cool that you don't, like, every time I say something, you're not sitting there and you're like, right? Because like a lot of therapists out there have not heard some crap before. So like, I have literally heard people say like, oh my God, I can't stand my therapist's faces. Like every time I'm saying something, they're like shocked. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I've seen and heard so many things that you could tell me anything. And I'll just be like, yeah. So what was that like? Like,
so what was that like killing somebody? Like,
yeah. How did that go? Like, what'd you do it with?
How did that go? Morbid humor over here for my job, but yes, completely. I mean, I have done a lot of work myself, and I think it's, gosh, I have walked through a lot myself within really, really, really down low points in my life. And I really love that when mentors, because I know Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi have huge stories, and I really do appreciate when mentors have that as well. But I guess that now talking to you, Vince, I don't know if that's necessarily needed, especially if you're able to work with those extremely challenging clients as well, and have that knowledge behind you. So I think you just schooled me a little bit of, I don't know if you've been through like an insane thing in your life as well. But I know that you walk through a lot within personal growth. So I think you just totally schooled me a little bit. So
well, my life, I mean, I'll keep this one real quick because I know we're getting close to wrapping up, but my life, I would not describe it as easy, but that's always perspective, right? Because people might look at my life and be like, you had an easy life. And honestly, from some of the clients I've worked with, I had an easy life. But the reality is, perspective changes throughout my life. When things were happening to me, right, it was hard. I grew up where my parents were amazing, my brother wasn't, and we had a lot of issues in the house because of him. I got bullied every day. I got bullied since kindergarten until high school. I suffered from severe anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, panic disorder, and my therapist wanted to put me on meds. I told him no. I found a way to overcome all of these things. And through my struggles, I've not only found a way to overcome it, I've done what is needed to do to change your life. And I've redefined everything. I have a really cool story, but we don't have time for it.
Darn it.
I found gratitude in being bullied. Like, and some people have been like, you're insane. And that's bullshit. And like, okay, that's fine. Like, you don't have to believe me. I don't care. But I know I'm feeling good in my life because of how I've described things. And when people tell me, I can't redefine that, I am just this way and you don't get it, it's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, because not only do I get it, I've been there, but I decided I don't want to be there. And that was the biggest key to changing my life, was taking back my power, turning my pain into power, creating my newer identity that I wanted to have, who I believed I would be, and changed my whole life from there.
That's super powerful. And I don't think bullying is an easy thing to go through, especially as a child. Because that's when your whole growth happens. A lot of growth happens when you're a child. So and that's interesting. I do have a friend that is, when we're offline, I'll send you a contact, because he has this huge, you might actually know him. His name is Sean. He's like a ex-retired football player, professional, and he has this whole company on anti-bullying. So
cool.
And to wrap things up, I have a couple more questions, and they are on your mentorship as well. So number one question is, because I absolutely love getting insight on what people's, like, what is one of your favorite books that has helped you with your mindset?
It's funny. I had a book in mind, and then as you asked me, I was about to blurt out a different one.
And go with a different one.
And I'm gonna. One of the biggest books that actually helped me change my mindset was by Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
No way, huh?
Yeah, way. Because
I've read that one.
It's a great book. And the funny part of it is like, because I was that kid that always struggled with anxiety and panic attacks, this resonated so much with me. Now, as I read it, I was in a much better state, but I was like, oh man, if I had really known this stuff and applied it years ago, this book would have been a game changer. I actually suggest that book to a lot of my clients that come to me with anxiety, because I think that's such a great book for that.
I'm going to have to reread that, because it's interesting with like the new steps that I'm stepping into. I find myself getting more anxiety, and I'm like, what can I do? So interesting. I'll have to go check that book out again, because I have read it.
Can I give one more?
Yeah.
I mean, you've probably already heard this book, and I'm sure most of the listeners probably have too, because it's an old book, but Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It is a timeless classic. Especially, I really recommend that book if you want to be an entrepreneur. I think, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think people that don't want to be an entrepreneur could still get a lot out of it. But so much of entrepreneurship is your mindset. Like, it's 80% mindset. And if you're not able to keep your mindset good, your business isn't going to succeed. Like, you're not going to succeed, and you're probably just going to quit. So I think that's one of the bigger books too.
That's interesting. Both of those books, I've read them, and you know what? I think that's going to be the start, because I am starting a new one. I'm always listening to audiobooks. So thank you for those for sure. And one more question before I have you give an insight on how people to find you. What is one of your favorite quotes that you live by?
So, quotes to live by.
Yeah.
I've actually created in my office, I have a whole quote board against the wall, and it says quotes to live by.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have a bunch of them. Can I give two?
Yes.
I don't like doing one.
I love quotes.
I have so many, and quotes are important, because quotes are, people don't realize this, but if you really memorize a quote and repeat it to yourself, one, it's like a mantra, and two, you're conditioning yourself.
Yep.
And you like condition yourself in a good way. Why not? We're always conditioning ourselves with crap. Like, why did Will Smith, slap the other guy? I got to go read all about this. Why don't you read a quote? Like, so
just go read a quote instead.
Go read a quote every day. Research that one. I have two though.
Okay.
One of them is from one of my favorite YouTube videos by Dr. Billy Alsbrooks. That guy is fascinating. He was a pastor. Now he's a rapper and a motivational speaker. I'm like, what? But I love this guy. One of my favorite quotes, it's the top of my quote board, actually. It says, greatness isn't achieved, it's displayed.
Interesting.
I love that quote. I love that, because we all have it within us. It's just waiting to be ripped open and shown to the world. And it's up to you to do it. And my second favorite quote, I have so many, but I'm gonna go with actually Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorites. He's a Stoic, but he was also very interesting, because he was not only a Stoic, he was one of the most successful emperors that Rome has ever had, because he was a practicing Stoic, but he also had a lot of empathy, and he really understood people. He wrote one of the greatest books of all times called Meditations. However, it wasn't actually meant to be a book. It was just his personal journal and his perceptions on life, which got turned into a book. That's how powerful they were. People wanted to read his thoughts. So his quote was, be tolerant of others and strict with yourself. And I think this is an amazing way to approach the world, because the reality is you could only hold expectations for you. With everyone else, you need to let it go. You need 100%. To be very tolerant and very open. With you, go as hard as you want.
I absolutely love that. And because this morning I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, and he was talking about having expectation only gives you, oh God, what was it? He was talking about like just releasing the expectations he has on anyone else, because he can't rely on that. Like, okay, if you let me down, okay, I'll just, move on with my life. I can't hold that against you, because the only expectations I can put on anyone is myself. So I love that. That was another, that was like a moment. What do you call it?
Extend that? Can I extend that real quick? Yeah. So this is one of the things I really try to teach clients, because expectations are selfish. They're always 100%. Selfish, because an expectation is based on you. It's based on the self, right? If you're saying, well, that person shouldn't act that way. Why? Well, because I wouldn't do that. Who gives a shit about you? Right. And so this is what always happens is our expectations are really just projections of ourself.
Mm-hmm.
So now I ask, and I always ask people, is it fair? Is it fair for you to put yourself on other people? Is it fair for you to always say, well, I would do this, so you better do this? Because if I phrase it in the way I phrase it, it kind of makes you sound like a jerk, doesn't it? But if you're phrasing it and you're not having anyone challenge that, you're going to think it's okay. So expectations aren't just this thing that are not only hard for others to reach, they're not realistic, because you're not truly getting to know other people if you're basing how they should act off of your actions. So if you take the time out to understand people, I talk about healthy ways to form expectations. A healthy way to form an expectation is to have zero. Have zero. Spend about a month or so getting to know the person and truly learn who they are. Get to know them, talk to them, spend time with them, ask them about their life, see how they act every day or every other day or whatever the case may be. And after some time, form an expectation based on who they are. So like, people get caught up in the dating world. Oh, like this person didn't text me back every day, so they don't care about me. Like, that's bullshit. Just because you want to text every day doesn't mean anything. Why don't you just text them? If they answer you every other day, in about a month, you understand that's their pattern. That's who they are. So now in about a month, you form a healthy expectation where, okay, this person texts me every other day. I know I could expect that from them because that's how they are. And also, it's important to learn other people, because it'll teach you when things are off. If you're so focused on your own world and your own expectation, this is why people get cheated on for like 10 years. I didn't know. How did you not know? You didn't see their behavior change? You didn't know they were different? Like, what do you mean? You know, and so that's kind of my take on expectations.
Oh my God, you are rad, Vince. Thank you so much for all of your insight. And I know my listeners are going to want to know how to work with you. Do you have a group program? Where do they find you? Where is all your content, all the great things? Because you've had some really good insight today. So thank you for it all.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I don't have a group. I've been wanting to actually start a group, like really create a community. So that's one of the things I'm looking to roll out in the next few months. I mean, I do have some people on like a wait list, but I don't want to actually start a group until I have enough. So people could find me. You could go to my website. It's Vincent Infante. So it's VincentInfante.life. That's my website. You can also just Google my name. I am very saturated on the web because I've done lots of podcasts. I have my website. I have all this other stuff. So you can definitely find me. My social media is vin.infante. That's for Instagram. And that's also for TikTok. And yeah, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. You know, I'm everywhere. If you just scream into the sky, I will appear. Like,
I love it. Thank you so much, Vince. First of all, I will be on your waiting list for your group program 100%, because just your knowledge from today, I'm always looking for new mentors within mindset, and I get a lot of value from other people's questions sometimes within, because I have two therapists that I'm working with right now. I have my mentors, I have my business mentors, but I'm always looking for life coaches that have a lot of backgrounds and it's just like everything you just said. So I absolutely loved our conversation today. So if you're out there listening, go find Vince on Instagram, TikTok. His website has some blogs on there as well. So with some really good content. And he also is on LinkedIn. So if you have any of those social media and you want to reach out to him, the links will be in the show notes. And other than that, I say hopefully, but I know you got a lot of value from today. So reach out to him and I will catch you on the next episode. So thank you so much, Vince, for being here today. And we will chat soon.
Thanks, Lauren. Bye.
Bye. I hope you are so excited about where you're going, because I know I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with a girlfriend or posted it on social media. Tag me so I could personally say thank you. I am so grateful. And Until next time,